So what if you read 134 books about how to be happier and more successful, and absolutely nothing changed? Well, that's exactly where our story kicks off today. We're going to distill this massive, massive journey for wisdom into these 7 most valuable lessons that actually, work.
This is the question that really started it all. I mean, after consuming a whole library's worth of knowledge, the author realized he was just stuck. He had all the info, but his life wasn't getting any better. It's this super frustrating paradox, right? Why doesn't knowing more automatically mean being better?
134 books. I mean, think about that. He was doing everything the book said, trying to have a positive mindset, and yet something felt deeply wrong. There was a huge piece of the puzzle missing. But that feeling, it wasn't a sign of failure. Turns out, it was the start of a real breakthrough. And that brings us to the first big lesson. And it wasn't some new productivity hack or a life-changing mantra. No, the first real insight was about understanding the very foundation of our well-being, the chemistry inside our own brains.
We're told constantly to just think positive. But here's the first major lesson. Positive thinking is kind of like trying to run powerful new software on a computer with a busted power supply. It just won't work. Your brain chemistry, that's the power supply. If it's out of whack, no amount of positive thinking is going to fix the real problem.
So, here's the thing. Before you spend a single dollar on fancy supplements or complicated programs, you have to master these 3 fundamentals. I know, they sound kind of boring, but their power is so underestimated. Getting 8 hours of sleep, moving your body, and eating decent food, that's the 20% of effort that gives you 80% of your well-being. It's the non-negotiable foundation. Okay, so the second lesson came from a pretty unexpected source, an English mentalist and illusionist named Darren Brown. This one simple phrase just cuts through hundreds of books worth of complicated advice. Because at the core of so much self-help is this one simple, powerful idea.
And kindness isn't about these huge, grand gestures. It's about the small stuff, the consistent things, a simple smile, helping someone out, taking out the trash without being asked. And the fascinating part is that these little acts don't just help other people, they're a direct way to lower your own anxiety and feel more grateful. It's a total win-win.
All right, so once that internal foundation is set, you've got your brain chemistry and kindness in a good place, the focus can shift outward. This next set of lessons gives us the tools to navigate the actual world way more effectively. Lesson 3 is a simple, stark truth. You can always make more money, but you can never, ever make more time. It's the only resource we have that's truly finite. And yet we give it away so easily, right? To scrolling, to jobs we hate, to worrying about what other people think. The real challenge is to start guarding your time as fiercely as you guard your wallet. This leads us perfectly into lesson number 4, which is a classic for a reason, the 80-20 principle. The whole idea is about finding the vital few things that matter and ignoring the trivial many. It basically says that in almost anything you do, a small chunk of your effort creates the vast majority of your results. So in practice, the author started applying this to everything. He zeroed in on the 20% of his videos that would get 80% of the views. He did it with his health, realizing that sleep, diet, and exercise were that critical 20% delivering 80% of the benefits. So the question for all of us is, where's the critical 20% in our own lives?
Lesson 5 is all about people. I mean, our entire lives revolve around our interactions with others. This is not a soft skill, it is a core survival skill. Out of all 134 books, Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People was the one singled out as absolutely required reading. Why? Because mastering how to deal with people opens up doors in every single part of your life.
Okay, now we're getting to what the author called a major, major turning point in his journey. This next lesson, this is what shifted everything from just passively learning into actively growing. And this is lesson number 6, maybe the most transformative one of all. You have to shift from being a consumer to being a creator. Think about it. After consuming 134 books, he was still stuck. Real change only started when he began creating something with that knowledge, applying it, teaching it, building with it. Consumption is passive. Creation is where all the growth happens. His YouTube channel is the perfect example. By creating videos to teach the lessons he'd learned,
He wasn't just sharing info, he was developing new skills in communication, in video editing. He started getting freelance work, and most importantly, he understood the material on a much deeper level. None of that would have happened if he just picked up book number 135.
And this leads us to the climax of this whole journey, the final and most profound lesson that really ties everything together. It's about finding freedom in the one place that no one can ever touch. This last lesson comes from Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist who lived through the absolute, unimaginable horrors of the Auschwitz concentration camp. And his experience gave him a perspective on human freedom that is it's almost unparalleled. Let's just sit with that quote for a second. What Frankl is saying is that between a stimulus, something that happens to you, and your response, there is a space, a tiny gap. And in that space lies your power to choose how you respond. And in that choice, that's where your growth and your freedom are. It is the definition of mind over matter. Now, to make this powerful idea really practical, listen to this story. The author dropped his phone. The screen cracked. Okay, that event is out of his control, but he could control his reaction. Instead of getting angry and frustrated, he chose acceptance. I mean, being mad wasn't going to uncrack the screen, right? So he just accepted it and moved on. That tiny choice, that is the final lesson in action. And so, here we are, full circle. All 134 books, all 7 of these lessons, from balancing your brain chemistry to choosing your reactions, they all boil down to this one big idea: agency. You are in control, which leaves us with one last powerful question. If your life is a story, are you just its reader or are you its author?